Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're back in action live on a Monday, July 26th at 12:18 p.m. Got to find a time slot so I can talk to you guys. Busy lately. It's good to be back. Last week was busy as well. Needed to take a little time off, refresh my brain, and this was a heck of a weekend. And we're going to look, first thing we're going to look at is the Bitcoin chart, obviously. The thing is a bullish break, and we're going to take a look at where it's hovering right now above the 200 EMA on the daily. That's nice to see. But, as you see in the title, Bitcoin bullishness and the frantic response. We're not frantic here, boys and girls. We're not emotional about this stuff. We're surgical. We're veterans. We've been there, done that. We've been in this game for a long time. We don't need to, am I going to buy Bitcoin? Am I going to buy Ethereum? Am I going to sell it at a higher price? None of that. I don't have time for that. Got to go back to work. We want that capital rolling in. We want them recurring revenue streams. So, I have a couple of projects that I've grouped together. So I have some capital that I accumulated for tax obligations next year that I figured I'd deploy and deploy strategically, and I'll go over them. It takes a lot for me to deploy capital. So I'm very picky. You guys know that. But I'm never early. I'm never late. Let's get into it. Today's episode is sponsored by Change Angel, the non-custodial swap exchange for social goods. Stop depositing on exchanges, not your keys, not your crypto, non-custodial, DeFi, or nothing at all. Bam, let's pop it over to the main screen and see who's in the stream. Ding ding's in the house. Welcome back. It's good. It's good to take some time. You got to take some time to relax the brain. But now I come back and, the world hits me like a ton of bricks, and I'm trying to understand things. Hit up a couple of nice tweets this morning and last night. The macroeconomic outlook seems it's always uncertain. The only thing certain is uncertainty, and the age-old conversation about deflation or inflation, continues. Markets at an all-time high, equity indexes blazing along, and the only thing that there's a couple of things that ring true to me, and one of them really is Raoul Pal's changed the denominator. And if you look at the denominator, nothing has grown, which means the value of the dollar has been diluted, and equity prices are not up. Yet alone at all-time highs, the value of an equity priced in the amount of currency, or debasement adjusted, it's not even up. We're not even above 2000s. There is no bubble. There's no nothing. It hasn't budged. I got Bitcoin up here, so let me just, above the 200 EMA. I'll share real quick. It's above the guppies. That's nice. But if you take a look in the weekly, it has to get above the guppies. So it's still not there yet. Don't have outright bullishness. But if we go over to the SPX divided by M2 real quick, and we zoom out to the yearly, even the weekly is not enough. Let's go out to the yearly. I like the yearly chart. Now we're talking here. So, we're pretty much at 2008. Not even close to 2000. Not even close. So there's no bullishness here. It's horizontal. Look, it's basically look at the line we're at, 1963. There's been no growth in the S&P since 1963 when you adjust the denominator, which is the money supply, how much money is available. So, we talk about yield farming all the time, which means we want to own a percent or a portion of supply. And that portion of supply gives us rights to a revenue stream. If you're talking about the value of an equity in terms of the total supply, if you've owned an equity on average since 1960, it has not grown in the amount of total supply of capital in all these years. 60 years. There's been no growth whatsoever. Absolutely fascinating, this chart. This chart, because it's 61 years old, goes back to 1960. That's breathtakingly revealing, and literally we're changing the denominator. Nothing has happened. Oh my God. So there's no opportunity in legacy finance, which is what draws my attention to the crypto space, and obviously everyone else that's watching as well. The crypto space is filled with exciting opportunity, often too exciting. And the reason the vast majority don't deploy capital into the crypto space is because they're not used to any financial innovation at all. Oh, my checking, like there's a new checking account. Oh, it has a new name. Oh, the CD. So the banks they might innovate instead of a CD certificate of deposit. They'll give you a DVD. Yeah, I did it. That's a horrible joke. They're going to get so innovative. It's pathetic, the legacy financial system, and there's nothing extra. Well, actually, you could say the DeFi space is extraordinary, but is it really? I mean, all it really is financial innovation. Innovative financial services, innovative monetary policy. The only reason it seems extraordinary is because of how pathetic the legacy system is. There's no innovation in financial services and products, and clearly there's no innovation in central bank monetary policy. It's just old and antiquated and deprecated and slow, and they gotta adjust a little bit here and there to barely keep the whole system together. Where's the experimentation? Where's the awesomeness? And that's where Frax comes in. That's where M Stable comes in. Innovative, interesting ideas that people are trying. Ohm. There's another one. I'll click them. Here, I'll click through those real quick. Let me get the questions and I'll click through the stuff that I find interesting. That guy Chaos, good morning. Noah, do you think DPI is a good play if you want DeFi exposure? Sure, it's an index fund. Indexes are cool, if you want that. I personally wouldn't. I think there's opportunity cost associated with an index position, and I think there's some things in the index that I don't want exposure to. But generally speaking, the purpose of an index is some go up, some go down, but the index overall, over a period of time, appreciates. But what are you going to do when the index appreciates? You're going to sell it? Sell it for what? Is it a productive asset? And there's what XDK just launched today is a phrase, productive asset. And that's very meaningful. For me, I'm an old school dividend investor. If I was around in the 1990s allocating capital, I'd be all in dividend bearing instruments. REITs would be my bread and butter. But now there's basically they're all negative yielding in real terms, and there's too much opportunity cost in securities markets. So the crypto space is just way too exciting, and this is where I find my dividends. I want productive assets. Now, if you want to talk productive assets with an index fund, you go over to PowerPool, which I haven't looked at in a while, and personally I wouldn't deploy capital to because it's opportunity cost in my opinion, and I don't want an index. I want concentrated capital. But I like these boys. Always did. And if it's something that's palatable to you guys, you want an index exposure. If it loads, there's very heavy these contracts. The yield is very nice, and the yield is coming from the individual components of the protocol. Um, let's see if the yield loads. Man, their website. This is a complicated protocol. The amount of blockchain requests for data, and they handled it very nicely with a indeterminate progress bar and a counter. But look at this yield, wonderful yield, and this isn't even. This is from the protocol. 20%, 36%. And this is incentives. There's this, you guys remember us talking about the Yearn Lazy Ape. And then there's incentives on top. I was around when this was way over 100%, but there's too much opportunity cost nowadays, and it's just not something I want exposure to. But if you want an index, at least it should be a productive asset index. So this is early. This just launched, and as I always tell you guys, I'm never early and I'm never late. I don't. I would rather wait 6 months to see how the protocol works out. And even then, I'm not necessarily going to take a position. I will do nothing over taking a position. I will do nothing over reallocating capital. Um, it's better that way. Don't that whole ape thing that everyone has talked about since DeFi summer 2020. No, no, no. Maybe I did that back then because we were all trying to figure out the market and we had no idea what we're doing. But that's clearly not where I'm at. Did someone just really schedule a meeting at 12:30? Sorry, guys. You got to bear with me a second. Did he really just schedule that at 12:30? Um, hold up. No, wrong one. Sorry, guys. I need to take my calendar over here for a second. Really? 12:30? Anthony. 2 seconds, guys. All right, I'm going to try and talk as much as I can, but I'll probably have to cut this short. Let me go back to the screen. Okay. What was I looking at? I was looking at Saffron Finance. I was looking at Rari Capital. Not something I was felt comfortable deploying capital to. Love the power pool stuff. XTK caught my eye. They always did from the beginning. Security incident is completely mutually exclusive from the awesomeness of the dev team. Never early, never late. I'll wait for 6 months and I'll reevaluate. A couple of other things. Nope. Popsicle Finance and ICE. That's interesting. Not something I'm going to deploy capital to. But that's a working asset, and that's meaningful. What was the point? What was the point of my topic? That guy Chaos brought up DPI, and I leaned into productive assets rather than just index funds. Because what are you going to do? Sell the asset when it goes up in price? Sell it for what? Dollars, and then you got to figure out another asset where to put it. That's why I love productive assets. It's kind of you just sit in it, and it just pays you to own it. Just a wonderful thing. Let me hit a couple comments, and then I'll go over the last two. Ohm and I'm stable, which I took a position in. Montana's in the house. It's a pleasure. Uh, grinding my yeah, I know the feeling. We do the best we can, but man, it's tough out there. There were two big whales bought CVX and deposited 20 mil in Convex last week. Convex is that's my core position. Well, not Convex, but CVX CRV, and CVX is about 10-12% of my total convex position, including CVX CRV. That's just forex. That's what it is. And clearly that's a speculative statement saying that it will become forex, but fundamentally, technologically, that's a forex market. That is productive right now. So speculatively, it could be worth a fortune, but as of right now, it's a heck of an income, 60-70% yield. You guys know that calculator. Did you guys know that 60-70%, let's say a 70% yield, let's say that's just e to the rate in decimal form. So if you have six, one, two, three, you have $1 million times 0.6 e. If you have $1 million, you're getting what 880. So what did I just do? 6.6. So 60% is 82% compounded. That's crazy sauce. Can you imagine this in legacy finance? You have $1 million and you're getting $882,000 a year. That's crazy. So APR is a little misleading because compounding changes it significantly. That got chaos. Biggest downside is it can't stake individual tokens like sushi. Sure, and that's meaningful, and that's why index exposure is there's opportunity cost. You have lack of control, and the one thing that I always say is a necessity is total control, liquidity. I'm not a fan of locking tokens, which is something that's discomforting with the E curve. There is liquidity. We see the XCRV, and then at least that allows for a liquid market. The second you have a liquid market, you have an artificial environment, and it's not a natural market, meaning that's basically what Hex is. It's not a natural market. It's artificially distorted. There's a constant liquidity event going on. There's a supply side disruption. Um, and that's not something I would want exposure to. I want exposure to liquid markets where anyone at any time could sell their assets, and that's a natural market. And that's meaningful for myself. Um, Joe, I'm not tempted to sell anything today. What would I sell today? Sell for what? Dollars? Do I have to buy anything? I'm not going to sell anything unless I need to buy something, because the only reason we sell something is for cash, because we need to spend it to pay bills. Otherwise, what are we selling? Because the assets are making money. They're productive assets. Every asset I have is a productive asset. And I get tempted for new productive assets like NICE, very interesting, or XTK, which has now been converted into a productive asset. And man, I just have always loved these power pool indices, but too much opportunity cost. Spooky Swap, XBoo on Polygon caught my eye. It's another X asset like X Sushi. X Sushi is another productive asset. Frankly, I just love this website. Tempting. What's the yield? I think the yield is 50% on XBoo. I love that. XBoo. Buyback boo, single stakes. That's awesome. Come on, this is cool stuff. But 54% means you're exposed to the XBoo volatility. There's no cash portion of the yield. It's not a forex market. This is very comparable to like an ICE. So that's cool, where they use the transaction fees to put a constant buy pressure on Boo. So it's meaningful. Um, it's something that would take would need to take a large position. So everything I'm comparing to baseline, which is like CDX CRV, and which has a dollar denominated yield from transaction fees. So that is what is most appealing to me about those particular assets. Um, it'd be nice if I had more capital, and I don't. So this goes into everyone's portfolio, no matter the size. You need concentration, you need conviction, and if you start to diversify excessively, you're going to experience opportunity costs, meaning never go all in and never spread too thin. So if I had this and NICE and XTK, I'd be spread too thin. The appropriate thing for myself, consistent with my personality and my convictions, is the heavyweight position in CVX CRV, nice position in CVX, because that produces more CVX CRV, and that just makes sense. And I have my other positions, so I'm not all in, and I'm surely not spread too thin. But as I mentioned, with the point of the stream was that these assets are interesting to me. Sir Joe's in the house. Joe Pappas, you're not tempted to sell anything. I'm not tempted to sell anything. Sell and make yield on stables until next big dip. No, no, no. So that's where my M stable position comes in. Uh, I saved up about 28 grand because I have about 24 grand worth of tax obligations for 2021, and I'm this is I'm not I don't want to change. Okay, so I have 38%. So M stable gives you 38% on GUSD. Come on, oh yeah. So I did the calculation, and I need about 24 grand to pay taxes. So if I have 16 grand, that will give me 24 grand in 1 year's time, if you do the calculation, which is calculator 16 times 0.4 E. 24 grand. Yay! So look, I saved up the 24 grand more, and instead of just holding that in cash, I was able to buy MTA and stake MTA, because that's the governance token, and that's what gives you your bumped yields into 38% instead of 13%. So I bought it's like 15 grand worth of MTA, give or take. It's giving me, I'm getting 13% on the MTA. That's lovely. So you stake that, and bam, now you're getting 40% on GUSD, and literally it's GUSD paired with MUSD, and MUSD is a diversified stablecoin consisting of SUSD, DAI. It's quite diversified. AOUSD is pretty cool. I don't think is it. Does it have an ETH collateralization component? I don't know. Maybe maybe it does. So I've always liked MUSD, and it turns out, excuse me, it turns out there's not many MTA stakers, which is really interesting. And it is what it is. So this is 40% on GUSD. Yeah. And what else? So let me finish the comments. I do have to jump off, guys. KGML Ample getting on Aave now should be interesting. Well, Ampleforth was always interesting. The Ampleforth V2 geysers and the whole Alchemist story, and how Abracadabra and Alchemist and Popsicle. These boys, they all know each other because they're all solid, top tier, very productive developers. So they're all friends. They all communicate, they all partner, and there's a whole huge amount of synergy that's going on in this space. The financial services innovation is extraordinary. Abracadabra is just a fun project that is some serious financial functionality. Leverage, debt, collateralization, and buybacks, and interest payments being diverted to S-spell positions. That's so intriguing compared to, oh, okay, I'm going to put my cash in the bank. They're going to put it in a CD, and it's going to go to a money market, and someone's going to borrow. No, it's so boring. There's no innovation whatsoever there. Nothing interesting, tantalizing, lucrative, profitable at all. So that's the story. Peter, thoughts on Olympus? I bought 1 ohm. Yay! So I have 1 ohm. You know why I have 1 ohm? Because the yield is 15,000%. If this thing stays at 15,000%, if it does, 1 ohm will be worth millions of dollars in a year. Okay? So this is what's crazy about these numbers, these 15,000, 10,000, or whatever the hell your favorite DEX aggregator, Adamant Finance on Polygon, whatever they're throwing at you. 15,000% on $500. You have any idea? You can't even put that into a compound interest calculator. There is no compound interest calculator that can handle 15,000%. It's a downright fortune, an absolute fortune. So I bought 1 ohm. If I get 15,000% on 1 ohm, it's going to be worth a fortune. So you don't need to deploy a large amount of capital to these massive APY positions. I mean, I can't even do the calculation here. So I bought 1 ohm. What's that? $500 times 15,000 is 150. E to the 150. You can't even do the calculation. It's just a massive, massive number. 15,000%. I don't even know how it's possible. So we'll see what happens. I bought 1 ohm. Look, I have 1 ohm. Ooh, 1 ohm. I love it. I love my 1 ohm. Feels like an NFT. I probably should buy some Boo because it's called Boo. Got to own some Boo. I don't. Well, I have to save up some capital because now I deployed my cash for tax purposes to M stable. Total of 16,000 because that's going to grow into the 24,000 that I need for tax obligations, which is awesome. That's a great place for cash. I mean, it's beating the pants off of GUSD on Curve and Convex, so this was a no-brainer for me to do. And as you can see, even my favorite protocol, Convex, is not the best place necessarily for cash. I'm very, very picky, and has nothing to. I have no allegiance to a protocol, but clearly CVXCRV is the most logical place for the vast majority of my portfolio. So it's not about allegiance. It's about opportunity cost analysis and risk assessment. Now, clearly, if you risk, you don't care about risk. 15,000%. That's the thing. You don't even just imagine my mental conversation for a second. If I put $100,000 into this, I'd be making millions of dollars. But no, you can't do that from a risk standpoint. And 15,000%, you don't need to deploy a large amount of money. $500 or whatever, one ohm, be worth a fortune at this APY. Let me hit up a couple questions and I got to jump off. Never go all in, never spread too thin. Love that. I might have to quote you there if you don't mind. You guys are welcome to quote anything I ever say. Always smarter after your streams. You're welcome, my friend. Hope to keep doing this. What do you think about Uniswap banning synthetic assets? Their contracts are mutable and decentralized. They got IPFS websites and what Visor and Popsicle run off Uniswap v3. There's nothing that there's nothing that Uniswap did that has any implication whatsoever to Uniswap still providing services for those assets. You can't. It's immutable contracts on Ethereum. There's nothing that could be done. There's no regulation that could affect those contracts on Ethereum. They'd have to shut down the internet, and that doesn't. It's not even rational. Almost paid the initial learning curve. Never early, never late, and you don't need a lot of money with this. Take $100. If you're like, oh my God, Olympus is the most incredible thing in the world, you take $100. That's all. If you lose $100, you lose $100. And for me, clearly, if you have $1,000 portfolio, I wouldn't be touching this at all. And that's, you guys know what I tell you about new entrants to the space. You got to learn what you're doing with USDC and GUSD on Aave, and you're probably better off DCAing into Bitcoin or Ethereum. I wouldn't touch any of this stuff. But if $100 or $500 is like, if you have a $50,000 portfolio, take $100. You put it in here. What are you going to lose? Sushi is doing a strategic raise by selling a portion of their treasury purse to a strategic investor. They're going after institutional clients with VC connections. Yeah, I do like X Sushi if I had a larger portfolio. I'd be spread too thin, so I cannot attack it because of diluting my portfolio or having excess diversification to my portfolio. So I like it. Look, X Sushi is the same as the assets I'm showing you up here. X Sushi is a productive asset like XDK. I was looking at some vapes, just like N Ice, just like XBoo, X Sushi. So it's cool. I don't own it. Doesn't mean I won't talk about it. Thoughts on Bloomberg Tether FUD? I don't think it was really FUD. There's the problem is it's commercial paper, which is debt, which means if those companies default on their debt, a significant amount of the collateralization of Tether would be in jeopardy. So there's legitimate reasons for fear, but that's why like M Stable is interesting because it's backed only partially by Tether. So if Tether is not going to zero, there's a lot of commercial paper in there, and there's cash at the bottom of a couple of percent. So 100% of that commercial paper is not going to default. If Tether's worth 90, 80, 70 cents, that's not zero. So the fear is because they don't understand what it means. If some of the commercial paper defaults and the people with positions are liquidated, or there's a margin call, and maybe they don't make do and they lose their collateral, which they probably won't want to do. They'll probably come up with the collateral to recollateralize their position so they don't get liquidated. Then the peg gets restored, or worst case scenario, the peg drops and and the policies and procedures are executed to reestablish the peg, which is drawing more collateral, such that collateral matches the amount of issuance of the asset, which is this basically the same exact process that happened for DAI back in 2020, March 2020. They had a policy and procedure to reestablish the peg in the case of a collateral shortfall, excess liquidations. Interesting stuff. So I'm not worried about Tether. If you're worried about the commercial paper backing Tether, I'd be worried about the legacy financial system. I'd be worried more about macroeconomic conditions because the whole securities market, S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, it's all zombified. If there was ever another event where commercial paper could start to default, the whole system is going to come down. NASDAQ would implode. It's all zombies. 150 times 500 is 75K. That guy Chaos, as in, not quite sure what you're referring to. KG, 3x3. That's right. I know what you're talking about. Greg, need some Boo. It's Boo. It's called Boo. It's like owning. That's why half the reason you own an NFT is because it's freaking awesome. It's called Boo. This is the cutest website. These little ghosty. This is so cool. I don't own any Boo. Do I get tempted? 54% is a nice return. You know, what you got to do is you got to look over and you got to look at the Boo asset, and it's probably quite volatile. 2011, so it's obviously a small cap. 5 mil market cap, ripped 30% over the last 30 days. All right. It looks nice. It ripped with the market. You know, micro caps, Bitcoin starts ripping. The micro caps rip 1,000%. But it's down significantly. It's down 89% from its all-time high. You know, it's extremely volatile. And that's not what you want for the vast majority of your portfolio. So if you had $10 million and you put 200 grand into Boo, or $500,000 into Boo, all right, it's 5% of your portfolio. So a couple percent, play around. At least you could tell someone you own some Boo. These are cool too. The XU3LP assets, because they're stable coins. Oh, what is this one paying? 7 and change percent. SUSD and USDC. That's pretty cool. It looks a little skewed towards USDC collateral. So, food for thought. 8%. Look at that. That's pretty cool. 8% a month, by the way. This is a lot on stablecoins, so that's quite tempting. This is 12, 13. You know, it's almost 20% on stablecoins. So obviously, I'm stable at 40%. That's piqued my interest a little bit more than the X token assets, but shouldn't necessarily discount the X token assets as being awesome. Not easy to make choices, meaning this is awesome, that's awesome, that's awesome, the other asset's awesome. You can't buy all the assets. You can't own everything you want to own. You can't. Be too spread thin. That's the bottom line. Alex, I think the 15,000% is compounded number of protocol compounds every 8 hours. Yeah, 15,000% APY on 1 ohm. I should have a couple $1 million by next year. Of course, I'm going to try it. Take the 1 ohm for me, you guys need to understand, is like zero. It's a couple $100. Make that in a couple hours. So please do not do not allocate 30% of your portfolio to a highly volatile asset of unknown future. Now, clearly it's exciting, and plenty of people say, oh, it's incredible. But, you know, don't deploy large amounts of capital unless you have extraordinary conviction. And, you know, I guess that's a subjective thing, and you guys know where my conviction lies. So I'm pretty sure many people will call me crazy for putting in what I have into convex. So who am I to judge? I guess that's the whole point. Who am I to judge? If it's Chinese commercial paper, no, what? China. China's a country. China has human beings. What, do you think China's going to go, all the commercial paper is going to go bankrupt? The whole point is it's all about the solvency of the company whose commercial paper it is. Can they pay the debt? or they go bankrupt and they go bust on the commercial paper, which is a debt obligation. Not, there's no, I don't fear China. China's, I love China. Who doesn't eat Chinese food in here? Love Chinese food. I love the Chinese people. Don't you want to go see the Great Wall? Isn't that some awesome stuff? The history, it's incredible. People have their horrible opinions about various places in the world. I think fucking China's awesome. Have you seen their high-speed trains? Have you seen their cities? You know they put up apartment buildings in a day. I mean, there's so many cool things about China. There's no reason to hate on it. I'm gonna go get me some chicken and rice later. Why you guys hate? People hate on so many things. I'm the anti-hater. I love things. No reason to hate on it. Austin, thanks Noah for inspiring me to chase after financial independence. Full-time work is overrated. Can't wait to get out of the rat race. Now, bear in mind, you should work. And you should also know how to manage capital. And the whole point of our conversation is to manage capital, to do it with rationality, logic, reason, risk analysis, proper strategic portfolio management, chasing revenue streams instead of capital gains, because that's just a pain in the ass. Ain't no one got the time to manage capital gains. Seriously. Yeah, I watched the USDT video. It's cool. I thought it was very cordial and reasonable, and it wasn't. I didn't find it excessively inflammatory. It's decent. And I thought their answers were reasonable, and I understand that they don't want to reveal certain pieces of data, and I understand what commercial paper is. That's the biggest thing with FUD is what is commercial paper? It's the same shit that everyone uses in the legacy financial system. That's what the whole system is. It's debt and bonds and debt and more bonds. And now just Tether says, hey, give us your shit, your debt and your bonds, and we're going to give you an asset. What do you think you're doing here? What do you think Rari Capital is? What do you think Avi is? It's give us assets, and we're going to give you debt based on your assets. So what Tether is debt based on debt? All right, so people freaking out about debt and bonds and leverage. Look, you could take your S home and you could borrow cash. All right, so I don't know. I don't fear it that much. I think if I came up with a business idea, I would sure as hell want to do that also, what Tether is doing. That's a heck of a business idea. Hey guys, you got a bunch of bonds that are yielding minus 5%? Give it to me and I'll give you dollars for it. Dollars in the legacy financial system so you could chase minus 5% on REITs? Or dollars in the crypto space where you could go do some incredibly awesome things. Yeah, I'm going to take dollars in the crypto space. Thank you very much. Option A for the win. Option T for the win. So to me, Tether is a freaking awesome business. And that's just obvious. I mean, 75K is what I was saying. 15,000 is the same as 150x. That's how much ohm. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. 150x. If I could have 75K off my $500, yay. Big Daddy's going to buy a car. I only mentioned China because of their stock performance past week. Yeah, I've seen it get hit pretty hard. Pretty hard. Yeah. All right, Let's say 10% of Tether's commercial paper goes to shit. So Tether's worth 90 cents, and they got to go call a bunch of people to get they get margin called, and they have to recollateralize their debt position. Oh, that's kind of sounds procedural to me. Yeah, their government's complicated. I don't know, but it's pretty shitty in the U.S. A bunch of people kind of just said they wanted to go on vacation inside Congress at the beginning of the year. That was pretty crazy. I don't know about you, but instead of being there, rather go on vacation or something. So I'm not quite sure why people are so angry. Anyway, I don't want to get political. Government sucks, period. Anti-hater, I'm with you. I'm an anti-hater. I'm a lover. I'd be a hippie if it was the 60s. Just saying. Zach, who doesn't? Yep. Joe, a personal check is commercial paper. Paper, paper. Come on, where's the Waterworld meme with the guy with the jar of paper? Paper, fucking paper. My God. All right, I'm going to wrap up the stream. I'm sorry I'm way over. I got to get back to work. Monday, July 26, 12:58 p.m. As always, I thank everyone for joining me. Discord's still hot. I got to get some office hours in. I'm really sorry, guys. I hope you guys out the best I can. But as always, the stream will continue. We will keep the rational party going. And I wish you all a wonderful day. And I will see you again tomorrow.